Nosrat takes a look at the paper by the creativity scholars about first-time cookbook authors.
I'm just like, oh, you don't understand creativity.
And we'll hear what it's like trying to follow up your first big hit. I'm Stephen Dubner. This is Freakonomics Radio. If you'd like to hear more of our show, you can find our entire archive of more than 500 episodes on any podcast app or at our website, Freakonomics.com, where we also publish transcripts and links to all the research we talk about in the show. We will be right back.
Freakonomics Radio is supported by Progressive Insurance. From the moment car insurance is quoted to the moment it's purchased, drivers can discover a variety of ways to stay protected. More at Progressive.com.
Support for KQED comes from Genentech, a science-driven biotech company helping to transform how complex health problems are treated. Learn how Genentech is tackling some of the biggest questions in healthcare at gene.com/askbiggerquestions. Xfinity, keeping devices connected. With Xfinity Internet and mobile, customers stay connected at home and on the go with 5G and millions of Wi-Fi hotspots.
Last week on Wait, we put the important questions to Secretary of State Antony Blinken. So something I've always wanted to wonder, what's the worst country?
Peter, I really appreciate the question. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Peter Sagal this week will get the same raw honesty, we hope, from actor Natasha Lyonne. Join us for the news quiz that does take no for an answer from NPR.
Wait, don't tell me. Tonight at 6, followed by This American Life at 7.
Later today on This American Life. When Megan was in college, she spent a whole year in the library learning how to speak Mandarin, to write the characters, all for her dad.
I wanted to learn Chinese because I was trying to get closer to you.
Only to learn that her father did not, in fact, speak Mandarin.
Yeah. Surprise.
Surprise.
It's the kind of relationship they always had, until recently, when everything changed. That's later today.
This is Freakonomics Radio with your host, Stephen Dubner.
Okay, let's rehearse what we know. The creativity scholar Marcus Baer co-authored a paper which found that writing a particularly novel cookbook and getting recognized for it makes authors less likely to produce a second book within 5 years. In a way, he is pointing to a long-standing phenomenon we're all familiar with, the sophomore slump. That's based on the idea that second-year students get lazy or complacent with their academic work. Baer argues that the sophomore slump applies just as much, if not more, when it comes to creativity. The most significant point in his research is that certain conditions will lead first-time creators to stop producing work altogether. The theory being that a second project could pose a threat to their new creative identity. Baer and his co-author reached this conclusion in part by interviewing first-time cookbook authors. They asked these authors to choose between developing a new idea for a second book or continuing to promote their first book.
We gave them choices in an experimental setting and said, do you want to come up with a second idea, or do you rather want to build on what you did? Do you want to design a way of exploiting your success? And to the extent that people say, it feels threatening to me to think about doing this again and not knowing exactly what the outcome will be, those people ended up not choosing that option of developing a second idea.
Wouldn't it make sense that someone who creates something novel and it's successful and then has the option to either, as you put it, build on what they've done, exploit that success, versus trying to come up with another novel idea? To me, it makes a lot of sense to want to build on and exploit that success, because successes are inherently anomalous, right? Most things fail. So if I've been lucky enough to come up with something that succeeds, of course, Marcus, I don't want to go back to the drawing board and try to come up with another purely novel idea. If I wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and it sells 5 million copies, now I want to write Chicken Soup for the automobile, Chicken Soup for the fountain pen, Chicken Soup for the computer console. Doesn't that make a certain amount of sense, as opposed to the theory of shirking from the newfound creative identity?
It does. And you're absolutely right. One of the first papers written in a journal called Organization Science was about this tension between what is called exploitation and exploration. So once you explored or you have invested resources into developing novel ideas, you want to exploit that. It's rational. And many authors will make such a decision. And that's why we have so many sequels.
Yeah.
But there are clearly diminishing returns to those efforts eventually. And I think our authors, because there's no real incentive for them oftentimes to continue that journey because it's a labor of love. Most cookbooks don't sell very well. Very few cookbook authors have advances or then subsequently get contracts. So you really can hone in on what the individual would do almost in the absence of any other factors. So if you have a successful first one, you tend to write a second. Makes sense. Above and beyond that effect, however, if your book was novel and you win an award for it, you become much more concerned about continuing.
That, at least, is what Baer's research paper says.
Yeah, I hated that paper. I found it really insulting.
That, again, is Samin Nosrat, the author of Salt, Fat, Acid,